Hey, sports fans, PB&Z, Sports Chaos, football season. It's like 2 weeks away, practically, PB, right?
Yeah, coming up on us fast.
Oh, man. Tonight we got a little preview. We got the AFC East. And speaking of the AFC East, we got the Patriots playing Philadelphia tonight, down in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. That should be an interesting matchup. We'll see. It was supposed to be on the NFL Network. Maybe it is down where you are, PB, but it's blacked out here. I got the Cardinals-Cowboys game on, which was played last Saturday, apparently.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say the Cardinals and Chiefs are on tomorrow night.
Yeah.
National TV.
Speaking of Philadelphia, or just outside of Philadelphia, we got the Little League, it's not college, Little League World Series going on in Williamsport. Always a good take. Have you ever gone?
Never gone.
I got to check it out one time. I have a buddy who's been there several times. He says it's a really good take. We'll see. All right. Speaking of baseball, MLB, they played in a Little League field last week, right? The Field of Dreams in Iowa. Next year, it's going to be the Reds. I mean, Reds and the Cubbies. But speaking of teams that had a dream going on, the Red Sox, our beloved Red Sox, crushed in 3 games by the Yankees. Now they're out of the wild card slot even. First of all, they had a 4-game lead in the division about 6 weeks ago. And now, PB, they're totally out of everything. They're out of first place in the AL East. The Yankees have now passed them for the wild card. A's have passed them for the wild card. I mean, we felt the same way. They may not be a good team for the whole season. They surprised us being very good. But are you surprised how far and how fast they've crashed?
It's kind of typical of the Red Sox of old days. Their pitching's just not holding up. You can't really blame their offense too much on the old recent slide. I think their pitching has been, especially their starting pitching. I just don't feel like they have the arms to take you deep into a season. I knew this was going to happen. I just knew it was going to happen.
No, we did. We both did. I was just surprised it lasted so long. It gave us a little bit of hope, but they have really crashed.
I just wish it wasn't at the hands of the Yankees, because I not predict the Red Sox to make the playoffs, but I also boldly predicted the Yankees not to make the playoffs. So I would rather see Toronto or someone else sneaking up and taking that spot over the Yankees doing it,
The Yankees made the best move at the All-Star break. I mean, at the trading deadline, I'm sorry. They got Joey Gallo and they got Anthony Rizzo, the 2 best moves, and they've paid off tremendously for these guys. Yeah,
especially having a left-hander at Yankee Stadium is always a good thing, right?
Oh, God. But the surprise story of the year continues to happen. Shohei Ohtani, last night, 40th home run, pitched an 8-inning game, won his 8th game of the year. He's 8-1. PB, if he stays healthy, is he an MVP candidate this year, even though the team stinks?
Yeah, I think so.
I would agree. He's the show this year.
He's doing things that no one else has done in the majors. They're comparing him to Babe Ruth, which is a whole different era. It's hard to even make that comparison, but he's doing extraordinary things. So he should definitely be in the conversation.
I just hope he stays healthy. That's all. I mean, that's been his jinx since he's been in MLB, is staying healthy. We'll see. Speaking of the other New York team, the Mets, they're like the Red Sox. They were cruising along in the NL East, and they've done the same thing, a little dive, the same as the Red Sox. The Yankees traded places with them. We'll see. More to talk about as we get a little closer to the playoff game. All right, I got a little question for you. Yesterday, Jamal Adams, safety, Seattle Seahawks, got a 4-year, $72 million contract. Is he one of the best safeties in the NFL, in your opinion?
I don't think he should be the highest paid safety in the league.
Let me ask you a question. Is he the top 5 or 6 safeties?
He could be in the conversation.
Top 10. Meanwhile, the same day, here's why I asked you. The same day, the Celtics announced Marcus Smart gets a 4-year, $77 million contract. Is Marcus Smart one of the 5 or 6 best point guards in the NBA?
Well, not only that, maybe one of the best defensive point guards. But he's
in the top 20.
No, overall, no. But defensively, he could be in the top 5 to 10.
So my point is, how does one of the 5 best position players in the NFL get only $72 million for the same term, And the guy that may be in the top 25 in his position in the NBA gets $77 million. The overinflated value of the NBA contracts is ridiculous, in my opinion.
Well, I agree. And look at the age. Look at how isn't Marcus Smart already in his like 32 or something like that?
Probably
30?
something like that. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So I mean, how old is
Jamal Adams is probably like 25. He's in the prime of his career.
You
He'll
gotta
easily get
consider
another
that.
contract after those 4 years.
Yeah. It's insane.
It is. And then you got whiners like Kevin Durant and Draymond Green on a podcast saying their big tiffy fit that they had when they played for Golden State a few years ago was the fault of the coach and the general manager. What? These NBA players, they are such spoiled punks. All right, I got to move on. I can't talk about it anymore. The NBA just infuriates me. All right, let's talk about the AFC East.
Yep.
A lot of fun we're going to have with this conversation. I'm going to get right into it. We're going to pick your new home team, Miami Dolphins, to start out with. How does the Dolphins finish the season?
Oh, you're start with the Dolphins? Okay.
Right into it. Oh, there you go.
All right. So this team is interesting. I'm telling you, I've gone to their camp, right? Local scouting down here. I've gone to their camp on a couple of occasions. I actually just went yesterday to their joint practice with the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay.
They look good. They look good offensively. They look good defensively. They got good skill players. Their offensive line, probably to me right now, is their biggest question mark in that team. And we know if your offensive line isn't playing well, that could really just take a toll on the offense. And obviously, if your offense isn't on the field, that could take a toll on the defense. So this thing could implode very quickly. However, what I'm seeing so far, I like. Vegas has this team sitting at 9.5. That's a tough call. They could very easily go 9-8 and go under there. I personally have them at 10-7, which is just a half a game over that. So, you know, and we look at their schedule. They open up with at New England and Buffalo. Those are two tough games, right? And then they got to go to Vegas. They got Indy at home, at Tampa. They got a tough run in those first 5 weeks. If they can come out of that even 2-3, they'd be in some pretty good shape. Their schedule lightens up a little bit. They got Jacksonville, Atlanta. They do have to go to Buffalo, Houston, the Jets, Carolina, Giants, Jets again. I mean, there's some games in there they should win in the middle of this schedule. Then they finish off tough again at New Orleans, at Tennessee, and New England at home. So I see them starting off slow, 2-3. I see them having a, you know, maybe sitting at maybe even 10-4 going into those final 3 games and dropping them all and maybe knocking themselves right out of playoff contention or wild card contention. 10-7 might not get you in. 10-6, right. You might go 11-6 to get in the playoffs. So this is a team that will be on the bubble at the end of the year. And you know what? That game in Miami on the last game of the season against New England could be determining your wild card team.
I got them 9-6 going into that game, and then they win that game against the Pats because they lose the first game. Pats crush them the first game, but they go 10-7.
Well, you said 9. Oh, not doing them 9-7 going into.
I got 9-7 going into the last game, right?
And they win, and they win it and go to 10-7.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
and I actually think there's some upside, and I actually have them losing to Indy and New Orleans. So if they beat those two teams, they go 12-5. But I have them right now at the moment losing to Indy and New Orleans.
Wow. So you're pretty high on them too. Yeah. I gotta see their offensive line perform week in and week out.
Oh, 10-7. I know Vegas has them 9.5, but a lot of people feel they're going to be better than that. I don't know. I'm not sure 2 is the answer yet. I haven't seen enough out of them to tell you whether I like them or not.
Yeah. And their running game needs to, I mean,
yes.
Yeah. Main guy, they got Malcolm Brown there now. You have Salvin Ahmad, who's probably going to be their third down back. He looks really, really good in camp, by the way. They drafted the kid Jared Dokes out of Cincinnati.
Yeah,
he might get some playing time this year too. They got some decent guys back there, but they're not. If the line's not doing its job, it's going to be a tough run for all of them, except for Ahmad, because Ahmad can catch out of the backfield. He can run fly routes. He's looked really good in camp.
All right, so 10-7, we both agree on that. All right, let's talk Buffalo next. What do you think about Buffalo, the defending AFC East champions? A lot of people have them as the second best team in the AFC. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think they're right with that assessment behind the Kansas City Chiefs. This is probably the next best team. Vegas has them in 11. I think they can easily win 11 games this year. That's to me, that's an easy bet because they would, for you to lose that bet, they'd only have to win. They'd have to go 10-7 for you to lose. If they win 11, you'd push, and there's a good chance they can win more than 11. I actually have them at 12-5. There's no way this team's going to only win 10 games this year, so I would take that over. Winning the division, not going to probably vie with Kansas City for that first round bye. Now that that's only given to one team. So they have some tough road games. I mean, their road games open up what they have at Miami, at Kansas City, at Tennessee are their first 3 road games of the year. They do have Pittsburgh and Washington and Houston mixed in with that at home. So, you know, they could be 3-3 after those first 6 games, possibly. But then it gets easy at Jacksonville, at the Jets. They had Indy at home. You know, at Tampa is going to be tough moving on towards the end of the year. They got Carolina, Atlanta, and the Jets all at home in 3 of their final 4 games this year, mixed in with a road game against New England. So this team's going to probably maybe be sitting at, you know, what, 9 or 10 wins going into that final 4 weeks, and then they could potentially run the table and end up with that 12 number. They could even go 13.
I got it. So funny you should say that. I get them at 13-4. I get them sweeping the Jets, sweeping the Dolphins in the AFC, splitting with the Pats, home and home. I get them losing at KC, like you mentioned, their road games. I get them losing at Tennessee. I get them losing at Tampa Bay, and the 4th game was at New England. And I think the 2 wild cards that might turn them upside down a little bit is, can they beat Indy, which by at that point in time when they play Indy, Carson Wentz will be back. And Washington will be a wild card just because the way Washington could play defense. Because last year, all I remember was when Buffalo lost at the end of the year, a KC team that I did not think had a good defense ravaged them. Josh Allen was running around like Pat Mahomes was in the Super Bowl to that Kansas City pass rush. So Washington can do the same thing to them. I'd be a little worried, but I think they still pull that out. But iffy game, but 13-4 is where I see him at.
All right. We're not too far off so far on those 2.
No. All right. Let's go to New York. I want to talk about the Jets. Zach Wilson, some good talk coming about him, but I think for the Jets to do anything at all worthwhile, respectable, and that would be maybe 5 wins, he's going to play like the rookie of the year. So what do you think about the Jets?
Yeah. It's going to be a tough go for them. Their schedule's stacked up against them a little bit. I do like some of the moves they made in getting Zach Wilson. Veritaka was another pick they had right in the first round to help the offensive line. They've got a couple skill guys, running back Michael Carter. They got Elijah Moore for a wide receiver. So, you know, you put Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore, Michael Carter into the equation. That's a whole new potential big 3, right? Quarterback, running back, receiver. A lot to see how these 3 rookies play, but this is where you start to make that turn as a team. I do think this team is going to look different in the next 2 or 3 years. We might be talking about this team being 500 or above or contending for a wild card, but right now, no, I just don't see it. And Vegas has them at 6. I think they're going to go under that.
Where do you got them at?
5 wins is probably the number. I actually have them at 4-13.
I do too. Yes, I agree with you, man. I just, you like to say better, but I don't see it. I will say this though. In those 4 wins, you're not going to believe one of the wins I pick, a big upset. Week 2, after the Patriots crushed the Dolphins, and I got a feeling the Patriots are going to win like 41-7 against the Dolphins in week 1. They're going to be so high, they're going to lose in an upset at New York in week 2.
All right. That's bold. We'll see.
And by the way, I think the only teams that they beat, other than the Patriots, are probably Houston, Philly, and Jacksonville.
Yeah. Yeah. And those 3 games aren't even going to, I mean, those are all home games for them, but those aren't gimmies either.
No. I mean, they have shots against Cincinnati. They have shots against Carolina. Like you said, it depends on how that big 3 plays. Shots against Atlanta and Denver. Easily teams they could compete with, but I don't see it happening, not because those are all on the road.
And I know we already did Philadelphia and we haven't done Jackson, right? But we did Philadelphia, and I think we did Houston too, right? No, we have
No,
done
they're in
Houston.
the South. We got to do the AFC South
Yeah,
next.
but we did Philadelphia, and maybe when we were doing Philadelphia, we may have said, I can't recall, Philadelphia, we don't see them winning many games, but maybe they'll win that game against the Jets.
Right,
So,
right.
you know, yeah.
That's a and by the way, that's a game for maybe another top 5 pick for both those teams. We'll see. All right, let's wrap it up with the Pats. I know I just predicted them for a big win to open the season and then a big upset in week 2. What do you have them coming in at?
Yeah, so I got them coming in because they could be sitting there right with Miami at the end here, and depending if they win or lose that final game. But I got New England at 9-8. Vegas has them at 9.5. I have them just coming in a tick under that at 9-8. You know, a lot's going to depend on this quarterback situation. They haven't named the starting quarterback yet. It's still a quarterback competition. I think with Cam Newton, this team can go out and win 8 or 9 games. That's the team they are. They're an 8-9 team or 9-8 team. You know, Mac Jones, I think, gives this team a potential for a greater upside, but also a lower floor as well. I mean, if they started Mac Jones week 1, this team could very easily go 5-11, right? Or 5-12, or they could also go 11-6. You know, I think there's just a bigger range there with Mac Jones. I'm just not sold on their passing game. We know their running game is going to be effective. They have a great offensive line. We know their defense is going to be pretty stout. So, you know, what are you looking at? The likes of, you know, when Nelson Aguilar, who's scrap metal left over from the Philadelphia Eagles' crappy receiving cores, and you have him as your number 1 receiver, and then you got Bourne as your number 2 guy, who was a 3rd or 4th on the depth chart in San Francisco, and then you got Jacoby Myers. Those are your 3 receivers. Like, come on, this team is not. They could be near the bottom of the league in passing. With Mac Jones, maybe can start to approach somewhere in the top 20, maybe. With Cam Newton, they're bottom of the league in passing, no question asked. So that's, and you gotta throw the ball. You gotta be able to throw the ball. You're gonna get into games where you have to, when you fall behind. It's gonna be tough for this team this year. I got them at 9-8.
I will say this. I actually believe in what I've been seeing on TV and watching locally. I think the additions of Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry is perfect for what they want to do with both Cam and or Mac. Short games, control the ball. Their running game, when you think about this, Sony Michel has been their best running back for the last 3 seasons, may not even make this team with the depth of their running back core. The kid from Oklahoma had a great game last week.
Stevenson. Yeah.
He's going to be in the mix. Hopefully he's in the mix. They should. I know they like to let their first-year running back sit on the bench and idle, but he's going to be there. Damian Harris looks unbelievable. James White is still James White. Their running game is going to be very solid, almost to the point where it's going to be on par with Tennessee. I think either quarterback will do well. Nelson Aguilar was in a bad situation in Philadelphia. He's a better receiver than what we think. By the way, the guy that's going to surprise you, he's the new Wes Welker and Julian Edelman. Jacoby Myers is going to shock the NFL world. A former quarterback, much like Edelman, is going to come in here. He's been doing unbelievable in preseason. He's running routes. He's awesome in the slot. I think he's going to show a lot. He's going to catch 75, 80 balls, and most of them are going to be in first down. So I got these guys going 12-5. And I think they only lose the upsets of the Jets, which, by the way, starts the Mac Jones engine, because it's going to be Cam starting the first 2 games. After he takes that loss, Mac Jones gets looked at very hard for week 3. They lose to Tampa Bay in week 4. There's no way in heck Brady comes in here and lets Belichick beat him. Sorry. Tennessee, same thing. Vrabel's got his number. Vrabel beats them, and of course they lose to Buffalo. They split with Buffalo. They lose the one up at Buffalo. So I think, and then they lose to Miami at the end of the season, like they always do when they go down there. So that's their 5. The only games I think that could be putting them in your category of 9-8, if they get swept by Buffalo, if they lose to Indy, and if they lose to either Cleveland or Dallas, which I doubt they lose to Dallas. Cleveland, realistic.
Yeah.
So I think they're legitimately a 12-5 team. You know, 9-8, yeah, very conceivable. At the worst, in my opinion, it's 10-7.
All right. Okay. I disagree with you on that one. We're off. That's the one we're off on the most.
You're down there. You're not seeing what we're hearing about in their preseason camp up here. By the way, the defense is looking like the defense is looking like the early 2000s defense right now.
Yeah, the defense is going to be legit for sure.
It is. Yeah, it is. And if you can run the ball and control the clock for 41, 42 minutes, first down, score 18, 20 points, and your defense only allows 15. I'm sorry if I do the math right. 20 and 15, you win. Right? Am I right?
Yeah, you are right.
All right. We'll see. All right. We got a little AFC South next. We'll do that on Sunday. And then we'll wrap up with the NFC South. And then after that, on 9/2, correct? That's when we'll have our fantasy draft.
Yes.
Survivor Fantasy fans, again, if you want to get in, we'll still take some people. Just send us a DM through Facebook or text us if you have our numbers, me or PB. We'd love to have you in the league. Reminder one more time, 5 players, PB.
Yeah, 5 players. You ride all 5 players through the whole year. There's no schedule. You don't have any head-to-head matchups. There's no playoff system. There's no lineups that you have to put in. There's no waiver wire. You just take your 5 guys, you ride them through 18 weeks. But the good thing is each week you only take your top 4 scores. So your bottom guy gets dropped automatically. So that helps you get through bye weeks, potential, injuries or people not playing and things like that. So,
all right.
So really, if you look at skill positions, we could have 20, 25, 30 people really in this league, which would make it kind of fun to have that many teams.
Ooh.
Regular snake draft. And I think we got 12 to 15 people right now, but we'd love to see that number get up to 20.
And what are we using? We're using the PBR scoring? Pabst Blue Ribbon?
We're gonna use PPR, right? We're actually going to use the PPR scoring from NFL.com. So I can just go in NFL.com, look at the player, and look at the score. I don't have to figure anything out. So even though it's a manual calculation on a spreadsheet, it's not an automated website or anything, but the scoring will be automated through NFL.com. And I'll just look up the scores and send out weekly updates.
Nice. All right, man. All right, sports fans, tune in for our next show, AFC South. We'll see if we're much more aligned on all 4 of those teams than we were on this. PB, good show. Talk to you soon.
All right, man.